Hi, my name is Brandy. I'm with Brushed by Brandy, and today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about putting a transfer from Redesign with Prima onto a mirror. And so this is for a vanity that I'm working on, and I want to make the mirror match the vanity that it coordinates with. So I'm going to use a piece of my transfer to tie them together. So the section of my mirror I'm going to be putting the transfer on is going to be this corner right up here, which I think you guys have a pretty good view of. So the first thing I did before I get started is I want to make sure my mirror is really clean, because any dust or debris that's on the surface will get stuck under my transfer when I put it on. So I just am using regular vinegar, and I'm going to make sure my mirror is really clean. And I've already done this one time, but I'll go ahead and go back over it. Now you want to make sure when you're doing a transfer that there is no moisture whatsoever on your surface. So this is something to consider when you're working. For example, we're in winter right now, there's a lot of moisture in the air. Any of that humidity can affect the adherence of your transfer. So if you're working outdoors and there's a lot of rain or moisture in your air, it can be a good idea to take your piece and your transfer indoors and let them acclimate before you try to adhere it. So I've got this section of my mirror really nice and clean. And then the transfer that I'm using is the new Lush Floral 2 transfer by Redesign with Prima. So I'm going to be using one of the florals from here. When you get your transfer, it comes on a white backing sheet. It's two pieces. You've got a clear adhesive sheet and then your white backing sheet. Once you separate these two, this clear adhesive sheet will stick to whatever you put it on. So you want to be sure that you've got your placement right. So I will kind of dry fit this. Now I'm going to adhere my transfer over the lip of my mirror. So it's going to go up here onto the wood. So we're going to also be putting the transfer onto a not flat surface. So let me move this so you guys can see well. That was my transfer tube. In the box with my transfer comes an applicator tool, and I'm going to be using this to put my transfer on. So I kind of feel like I want it to go up in this corner. I'm probably going to use multiple florals, but this is just the first. When I'm putting a transfer on, I will usually start with my largest piece first, and then I will layer them to build it up from there. So now that I have a rough idea, I removed my white backing sheet, and I'm going to take this and place it on my mirror where I would like. So I kind of like it right here in this corner. Now when I'm doing a transfer up over a raised surface, I will do my flat portion first. So now that I know this is my rough location, I'm just going to put it in place with my hand. And then I'm going to take my transfer tool and rub over the surface of my transfer. And I can see right away that the places that I've adhered start turning a little bit darker. Can you see how it starts getting a little darker? Right there's a good example, where it's dark on this side and lighter where I haven't pressed it. So I'm going to go over it until all of my transfer looks like that darker shade. And that tells me that it's adhering onto my surface. And it shouldn't take too much elbow grease. These really attach pretty easily. If you're having to rub too hard, there's probably a problem. And it could have something to do with moisture on the surface. If you're putting this on a painted surface, you want to make sure your painted surface is the raw paint, not sealed. So right away, I can come back and start peeling away this clear paper. And I just double check it on the areas that I've attached it. Now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to get right up to this edge. And I'm going to start working my transfer in small areas up over the lip of this mirror onto the frame. So you'll see I'm just going to work one small area at a time, and I rub that on until it's loose from the backing sheet, and then I'm going to come to the next area. So when you're going up onto a raised surface or a curve, you want to work it in small sections at a time and do your flat section first. And then I'll bring you guys in closer after I work this around my frame and show you what it looks like up onto that lip. And I'm kind of manipulating a flat transfer into a non-flat area. So I may get some areas that crinkle a little bit, and I can correct some of that. And then when I start peeling away my clear backing, if I notice there's a section that hasn't stuck, I can go back over that and get it with my stick. But I feel pretty good about this, and as I peel away my clear backing, I can see it's attached onto my mirror and then up onto the frame of my mirror right here. So once I've got my mirror attached, I like to go over it with my fingers. And I use my fingers for this because I want to make sure that there's no areas that are still raised, that haven't attached very well. I'm going to burnish my transfer, and burnish means rubbing over all the areas of it to make sure there's no air bubbles or anything, but I first like to do it with my fingers, and my fingers can sometimes detect things that I might not be able to detect with the pad that I'm going to burnish with. So for burnishing, I like to use the Dixie Belle finishing pads, and they come like this, and I cut them into smaller sections. So this is a cut portion of it. I usually get, you know, between 4 and 8 pieces out of one finishing pad. And then I'm going to take this, and in a light circular motion, let me move you guys in a little bit closer so you can see what I'm doing. In a light circular motion, I'm going to go over all the sections of my mirror where my transfer is. And there are places on here that I have little tiny air bubbles, and that burnishing works those air bubbles out and helps those places adhere to my mirror. When I put a transfer on a mirror, I'm not going to put a top coat sealant over this. I will put one over the wood portion, but I'm not going to seal the part that's on the glass. And the reason for that is it just doesn't really need it. This is not going to get a lot of finger wear. I will tell the owner of this, I'll advise them to not use any commercial furniture cleaners, even a Windex on this. You can just wipe it with a damp rag on the transfer portion, and that will keep your mirror clean. So now I'm going to go over the portion of this that's attached to my mirror frame. I'm doing the same thing. I'm going to burnish this down. This also helps diminish on a wood surface. It helps diminish the clear halo that's around the transfer. If there's a section I feel like it's not quite attached, before I burnish it, I will go over it with my fingers and make sure that's attached. The finishing pad can't feel things that I could feel with my finger. So that is a really, really nice transfer attachment onto a mirror. It looks beautiful. It's going to tie in beautifully with my vanity. And from here, I'm going to continue to layer a couple different florals on here. So I'll probably come down this direction, and I'll take my some different portions of my Lush floral transfer and kind of run them down until they taper off on my mirror. And that's going to tie in really well with my vanity. So that is how you attach a transfer onto a mirror. And then, like I said, I will just avoid cleaning this section with any commercial cleaners like Windex. Just to wipe every once in a while with a damp cloth on this section is all you need to do to keep it clean, and it will wear really nicely on a mirror hung on the wall.